Hello, gorgeous seekers, and welcome to Moon Magic, to one of the most potent new moons I've seen this year. There is something so symbolically engaging for this moon with me. In fact, I stayed up really late last night writing notes and pouring through what I feel is a really important message for taking personal responsibility in a new energetic cycle, and how we can really be cognizant of the fact that, yes, this is a new moon, which means that we are working with listening energy, seed planting energy, new beginnings energy. So the new moon is happening at 15 degrees of Aries in the early morning hours of April 5th. So it'll be going exact at 1:50 a.m. Pacific over in California and 4:50 a.m. in New York. And so overnight into 4th into the 5th is going to be, we're going to be checking in with a lot of this energy. And over the course of a few days, this is going to be working with us. This has a lot of cardinal energy in it. We have a lot of energy in Aries and Capricorn. We have conversations going on between those two cardinal signs, initiating signs. In many ways, these signs are heralding in this new self-responsibility energy that I'm going to be talking about. On top of that, on top of the conversations we will be getting into with those two signs, we also are still in the post-retrograde phase of the Mercury retrograde. We're in the post-shadow era, and that is lasting until mid-April, till around the 17th. So this new moon is still in the conversation of this reverberation of the Mercury retrograde. I know a lot of people get excited when things go direct, when planets go direct, but with the Mercury retrograde, especially with the amount of conjunctions that have happened with Neptune within that transit, we have had to really reevaluate what is true for us, what is meaningful to us, and what we want to create. So the first thing I want to mention is that this moon is in that context. That Mercury retrograde took us all to some really profound places that we didn't probably foresee taking us, having us ask questions, having us really dive into where we have been holding ourselves back, where we have been self-sabotaging, where we have been dreaming ourselves into foggy disrepair. And as it's been moving forward and moving direct, in fact, even just a couple of days and the day before this new moon goes exact, we have Mercury and Neptune conjunct one last time here before Mercury continues on and moves forward through the rest of Pisces and into Aries eventually. And so this new moon is really in the context of that Neptune-Mercury conversation that's been going on for a couple of months. And we are having to realize whatever old nostalgia, whatever old patterning, whatever old fantastical escapist qualities that we had over the last several years can no longer serve us. So already this new moon has a message. But it doesn't end there, of course. A new moon, of course, is a conjunction between the sun and the moon. So the sun and moon are perfectly at 15 degrees of Aries. And there's that renewal, there's that refreshment, right? And that's a beautiful placement. I think that's a lot of fun. I love Aries energy, right? The individual, the I am, the conscious creator. You know, just knowing and owning that we exist as an individual and accepting that and empowering ourselves with that energy is so profound. So of course we have that going on. There's a very loose square between the new moon and Saturn and Capricorn. And it is very loose. So it's around 20 degrees. Saturn is around 20 degrees of Capricorn right now. But it is influencing this moon. And the thing with Capricorn is Capricorn's getting lit up by a lot of movement around this time, because the south node of the moon is at 22 degrees of Capricorn, Pluto is at 23 degrees of Capricorn, and Saturn is at 20 degrees of Capricorn. So these three planets these three placements and aspects are pretty major. They have us do some homework. They have us check in with our shadow sides. They have us check in with where we are restricting ourselves. They have us check in with where we are putting in healthy structure. They have us checking in with any old versions of ourselves that are no longer serving. And they're not into hearing your excuses for why you can't transform and why you can't show up for yourself and why you can't take a stand for what really matters. All three of those placements are kind of like, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to stand up? And the thing with that South Node placement in Capricorn is that we are learning about the North Node in Cancer. That's where we are actually being asked to go. So when you have an aspect with Saturn and Pluto surrounding the South Node, it's also realizing that yes, structure and self-discipline and the ability to transmute are super important. But we have to do that in the context of giving and working with others and allowing others to come in contact with our soul and to connect with our souls and to feel that intimacy, to feel that personal engagement, and rather than feeling so isolated in the work we do in the world. Now, this is important with the Aries new moon because, like I said, the moon itself isn't aspecting a ton, but the fact that this new moon is happening when it's happening is profound because we are just starting so many of these new energetic cycles, and we are in the post-shadow phase of a very powerful Mercury retrograde and 1 degree into the Uranus and Taurus transit. And because Aries has such an important role in the energetic wheel that we work with when we talk about these archetypes, when we have an Aries new moon, we are already engaging with the first and foremost energy, which is this conscious I am energy. And this is where my note was coming through, and where the notes that I was taking last night, stayed up very late, feeling this energy. And I'm telling you, this energy has been working through me at such a deep level that today I actually had to slow way down and rest and think through this. And I even cried a couple of times as I was feeling through this. Not to get too emo on you guys, because we got to keep it together, right? We got to do this. But there's something about the way that this energy is working that we should really pay attention to, because it has to do with the collective, even though we are working with the individual energy, right? We are working with I am energy, and that's the thing. That is the thing. So Uranus was in Aries for all these years. Since about 2010, Uranus has been working in Aries. And now Uranus is in Taurus, of course, but we learned some new skill sets when it comes to what it means to be an individual and what it means to be a conscious individual. So we spent those years learning how to tell our stories, how to use technology and communication to express our individual aspects, to express ourselves as individuals. And you'll still see the effects of that today. If you scroll through Instagram, it's a lot of us talking about our personal stories and saying how intense it is and saying how beautiful it is and expressing that, right? And there has been a lot of power in the ability for us to share in that way. However, we have mastered that skill set and we need to take it somewhere different now. And that is where the context of this new moon is really asking us some very deep questions about what it means to, if you are conscious of yourself and you are conscious of your energy, what it means to use that energy within the world. You are embodied here, you are standing here. So a really strong visual came to mind when I started thinking about this new moon. So here we go. I'm going to start reading some of these notes out, and we're going to take some time. So if you are in a space where you can visualize this, please feel free to take some deep breaths and come along on this journey with me. So here we go. We're about to step into the archetype of Aries, the warrior, right? Aries is ruled by Mars. And Aries is the frontline energy. It's the energy that takes the step into the next phase of life. It's the first energy that emerges. And Aries, as people who have a lot of strong Aries in their chart, often experience life as this kind of frontline energy where they just dive into situations and scenarios without knowing how that's going to play out for them. And it can be sometimes traumatic for people with a lot of Aries energy because they hit up against the unknown and find out what happens after. They take a lot of leaps of faith. But we all have Aries energy in us. Just being an individual, a frontline person, a frontline leading edge individual, if you listen to Abraham Hicks, is inherently Aries-based energy. So think about that. We all have that. We're all these realized individuals, and we're working on our self-realization. We're working on what that means for each of us individually. That journey is unique. So imagine this. You are standing alone and strong and clear and resilient. And it's the dawn of a brand new morning. You're out in your favorite area, out on this wide open beach, or out on an amazing mesa somewhere. Wherever it is that you feel that sense of, I am here, and I can stand alone here and just really relish in the fact that I exist. And you know you are enough, and you know that you are directly connected to Source. You just know it. All that advice that comes up about how we're responsible for our own happiness, it's like you just are conscious of it. You have it. So just imagine what it feels like when you're in that pocket. Because I think we've all had moments where we can really feel that we are at that connected level at some point in our lives. So as you're taking these deep breaths in and you're looking out over this vast expanse of the thing that you love to look at the dawn of a new day, and you're feeling like that realized individual, you're connected, you have it. You have your consciousness, you have your awareness of your being, of your individual power, of your individual ability to create energy, to create thought, to create ideas, and you do have all of that. Every single person listening to this right now has all of that. What do you use this beautiful, realized energy for? Now that you have it, now that you know you have it, we can just take that question off the table. We know you have this direct connection to the bigger consciousness. We know you have the ability to be conscious of yourself as an individual creator. We know you have the ability to share of yourselves and to create thought. It's not a question. So you don't have to spend time thinking about that question anymore. What do you do now? What's the point of life once you know that? Once you just take that in and you know that, which is so much about the Aries energy. I know that I can do this. I know that I can create this. I know that I can dive in. This is cardinal fire energy, and it is hot. Let me tell you. We don't just sit there with it. We need to use it for something of value. Once we have accepted our self-actualization, then it is time to think about how we want to use that in the context of all the other souls around us. Would you use that conscious energy to dive into gossip on social media and to watch personalities have fights about what product is real or what their mistakes have been in their past, or who's right and who's wrong and what argument are they in? Would you use it to obsess over who's giving you attention or who's not giving you attention? Would you use it to obsess over the fact that you are wanting love or that you don't have enough money? Or if you just knew that you were consciously connected to Source and you were self-realized, where would you put that energy? Because I think and I believe that we would use it to build bridges, to connect more deeply to others, and to use this divine power that is within us for something of value. And that's where that self-responsibility energy that is influencing this moon with all that energy in Capricorn is coming out. Because I'm going to tell you right now, using it for all the concerns about what other people are doing, what other people are saying, who's giving attention, who's correct, especially when it comes to how Uranus in Aries affected us with selfie culture and all of that, we're done with that now. Like, it's still going to be around. It's still something we are going to use as a tool set. However, we've done that. We've explored that. We need to shift the conversation. And we need to shift it to thinking about the fact that you are a powerful being. That means that you are in a context where you, specifically your energy, each and every one of you out there, can and will be showing up to give something to the rest of us in this world. Yes, that is what this new moon is about. Of course, you are going to have an individual journey with that. You're going to have an individual journey with how have you been cutting yourself short from showing up to the life you want to live? You know, do you want to live a life of love and community? Well, you're going to have to start, reaching out to people. If you want to have meaningful relationships with people, you're going to have to start being vulnerable and sharing when you're struggling and being open to showing yourself fully if you want to have community. Are you making excuses for why you can't show up and do that hour of community service if you're just spending that time surfing the web and feeling kind of drained by it? And the other question is, how are we using technology? How are we using our time? How are we appropriating our own time? And is it going places that really feel good to our I am consciousness? I know this is kind of, I'm like reporting the news in my little red jacket, and I'm feeling very kind of stern with an Aries new moon, which is funny because normally I just want to play with Aries energy. I just want to play and have fun. But that's the other side of this. I'm not saying we all need to get austere and, wear a whole bunch of gray clothing and just imagine ourselves just in lives of service. Service comes in so many different forms. And you can incorporate so many little bits of service in your life, in the fabric of your life. And you can also create service in the innate gifts and talents that you as an individual have. I should start pulling some cards. I think you guys are getting the gist here. But that's what's coming up. And it might feel uncomfortable because it isn't just about you as an individual. You're going to be feeling this on a collective level. And sometimes for some of us, I think that can be a lot to feel through when we're trying to have a personal experience with the moon and we realize that it doesn't just come with us alone on that beach breathing. Of course, that's still a part of who we are, but there's something bigger going on here. And that is the thing that you're going to feel that's got a little different quality than some of the other moons we've been having. 3 of Wands. Energy of abundance, of prosperity. And quite honestly, if you are willing to show up and stand fully in your I am, in your personal life, in your collective life, in your communal life, in who you want to become, in the best version of yourself, the rewards are right there. The support is right there. The energy is very supportive to fully step into ownership of who you are. The energy is absolutely supportive of that. Ace of Wands. Yes, I'm loving these cards. And that's the thing. I am giving you my news report, kind of intensive need for us to, as a collective, do our part. Reach out to people. Reach out and help others. Yeah, be of service to others. I am saying that. 5 of Swords. Building the trust, right? Not looking around with distrust. Not looking around with fear of what it will mean if you give of yourself, but to realize that we are here to experience together. We are. And Wheel of Fortune. Time is changing. The times are a-changing. And it is not the same era that we were in even a couple of years ago. The world has changed. And what matters now is very pressing. We got to show up now. If there's a word that I can think of with Aries, it's now. This is about taking action. This is about being very conscious of how we take our space in the world, how we take the stage in the world, how we take our frontline warrior status, how we take our consciousness. And I'm going to keep saying it, but that's what this Wheel of Fortune is about. It's the turning of the gears. It's the turning of the seasons. It's the turning of time and meaning. It's a turning of our collective evolution. Whether you are big on, all these like 5D energetic shifts or on downloads or however, or, you are just thinking about the political climate and the way that our world has changed and the way technology is changing. Any lens that you use to understand the world, it doesn't matter. You can look at what we have going on now and realize that if we can all stand in this, something is going to shift with us and you can feel it. It's palpable. And when you try to ignore it, it's uncomfortable. and it feels a little heavy to just stand there alone, right? But there are a lot of gifts in this new moon. And it is about taking action. It is about your habits. It is about your routines. It is about how you take up your space. But there's a lot of room for new opportunity here. There's a lot of room for heart opening. There's a lot of room for deep connection, renewal, playfulness, even sensuality and flirtation. So yes, there is the serious side to this moon, but there's also this kind of, hey, if you're willing to show up to this table with your goods, there's a party to meet you there, right? There is a very supportive, warm energy here that says, okay, if you're willing to show up, we'll get you there. So open your mind to how your biggest expansive ideas and trust in it a little bit more. This Five of Swords is showing up in the conversation because we don't trust ourselves. We cut ourselves off. We cut ourselves off from the people that matter. We cut ourselves off from the people we want to become. We cut ourselves off from the communities we want to reach. We cut ourselves off from believing we are allowed to fully step into the next chapter. And this is, like I said, about the collective, but it's also, the fact is that you as an individual have evolved, and there is a new chapter, and there has been a grieving process, and there has been a shedding process, and there is also just this permission slip energy coming in that says it is time to just go ahead and be there. Just go ahead and claim it for yourself. Not in a controlling manner, not in an impatient manner, in a very calm knowing that you are a powerful, empowered being that can make a difference in yourself, in your habits, your routines, in your communities, and in this world. And if I could just see us all feel that energy, and I know a lot of you are feeling it right now. I know that some amazing, beautiful things are about to happen. In the midst of all the other awful things that are occurring, we have this ability to build bridges in ways like we never have before. And that's really what I hope to see. I'm booking sessions. You can find me on my website, sarahverba.com, sarahtarot.com. They will lead you to the same place. You can find me on Instagram at sarahverba. I would love to see you. I'll leave all the goodies in the description box. I'm, of course, wearing PinkLune, my girl PinkLune. And I'm thinking about you guys. I'm thinking about this time. And I also want to mention, before we close out today, that as you watch this leading up to this new moon, and even if you watch this after the new moon, the first half of April is very sensitive and tender. And while you will still be feeling the passion of Aries energy, which you know I love Aries energy. I find it so effervescent and beautiful and inspiring, and I just get passionate about it. There's still this almost melancholy shedding of old self and stepping into new being. And the two are going on at the same time. There's a lot of integration. There's a lot of listening. So you may find a dualism in this energy of the go-getter and the stepping in and the stepping up and the stepping out, and this need to go very deeply underground and sit with your dreams and with fantasy and with any old integrated lessons that you are pulling together. So there's a complexity going on there with the energetic conversation. Despite the fact that there aren't a lot of crazy aspects with this moon, there's this kind of shift going on, and it's simultaneous. So be patient with yourselves, be kind with yourselves, be gentle with yourselves. Whatever you envision during this new moon is something that will be taking its time to fully develop and flower over time. A new moon is just a time to connect in with the possibilities. I love you guys so much. I will see you for the next moon magic. We have another full moon in Libra coming up to close out a month of pretty profound moon cycle energy. And I'm curious to see where that part of the journey takes us. I love you guys so much. You have no idea how much you mean to me. I'm so glad you are here with me. I will probably cry if I think about it too much, so I'm just going to stop here now. No tears on an Aries new moon video. No way. I will talk to you guys very soon, and have a beautiful new moon.